Day 2 of the Utah Jazz rotation conversation. 3 super strong attempts by listeners to Locked On Jazz and Everydayers lead to one of the bigger questions. How does Taylor Jenkins actually fit into a rotation? It's all coming up next on today's edition of Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and on today's show, you are completely awesome. I got 3, maybe even 4 really good breakdowns building off yesterday's show. Everydayers, yesterday's show, was about the rotations of the Utah Jazz, how you put it together. Some absolutely fabulous comments, and we're going to give flowers and due to the guys who went out and made the efforts to get this done and look at their rotations today. And it leads to some really interesting questions as we start moving forward into the NBA offseason. We're getting closer and closer. Christmas, which is scheduled day, is probably 10 days away. Teams' preseason schedules are getting let out every now and then, and we're learning that we're playing in Seattle. I think we're playing against Portland, we've learned. All sorts of really exciting stuff, and we'll get into all of that today on the show, plus why playing USA basketball is so important for Walker Kessler. Just a little note on that. Some fun little notes by Bleacher Report and Thinking Basketball. There's always great content. We're going to hit all of it today. As we mentioned, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and this is Locked On Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much to all the everydayers out there that make Locked On tick, and thank you for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps. We are free and available on YouTube. Great conversation. Actually, you know what? Usually great conversation. Semi-disappointing conversation yesterday. I'll be honest. I'll be a little honest. Went through the comments expecting to see the usual genius of the Locked On listener. Didn't see it. Didn't see it. Got it in my email from Seth. Got it in my X, Twitter from Brian. YouTube comments yesterday, suboptimal. I'll get into it in a second. All right. Yesterday we closed the show talking about Walker. And then a video comes out. I think it was on Reddit. I get all my stuff through a thing called Feedly, so I don't always know. And the thing on, and it had Walker grabbing a rebound, battling for a rebound, going back. Anthony Edwards throws a cross-court pass. Walker picks it off, steals it, goes to length of the court, and dunks. Nothing we have. I mean, first of all, Walker looks great in his body movement. That's what separates Walker and makes you so excited about Walker, is just how incredibly well his body moves for someone who's 7'1" and 22, maybe 22, because his birthday and my son's birthday are the same day. My son just turned 21. 22 years old. That's what makes us so excited about Walker, and rightfully so. But also, I just cannot. Mikal Bridges, Paulo Banchero, whoever else you want to talk about, Anthony Edwards, the best next generation of players is in Vegas under Steve Kerr's tutelage, playing. Yesterday's video, we saw a bunch of it if you're on Reddit and other places. They're just playing, right? They're just playing ball. Well, that's the best way you can practice, is just playing ball. Golf, we can all sit on the range all the time, but really playing holes makes you better. And the same thing with basketball. He can go do all of his drills with Austin and all this kind of stuff, but playing ball. And when he's in Atlanta, he can get a run, but it's not this. Most runs that these guys get involve 3 or 4 or 5 college players. And they're the best player. This is just awesome. So for this to have a month of Walker's time where he's spending this is super, super for his development. And it's really, really great. All right, I'm going to try to see if I can. It's not always easy to screen share in this, but I'll do the best I can to screen share some of this and these various versions. I'm just so impressed by everyone who did this. And so let's start with Seth. And let me see if I can present here. share a screen. Is there anything on that screen I don't want you to see? Nope, you don't care. I don't think I actually have anything I don't want you to see. So let's see if this works. I've never done this on. All right, here we go. There it is, shared screen. Little small. Let me see if I can make it bigger. But if you're on YouTube, we have it now shared. Okay. Seth starts with the same starting five that we're pretty much used to, that we've been using, which is Jordan, Ochai, Lowry, John Collins, and Walker Kessler. His first substitution, similar to mine, was Kelly Olynyk for John Collins at about the 6-minute mark, and he adds in Taylor Horton Tucker in first instead of Colin Sexton as for Lowry marketing. Now, this is interesting in this sense. I don't know that Lowry is going to be willing to do this. And Lowry's pretty willing. However, Lowry sits at the 6-minute mark and doesn't come back in. Lowry sits at the 3-minute mark. So this is probably right. He slides Lowry to center. So he has THT coming in for Walker. A lot of the best players in the league want to play the entire first quarter. The first 9 seems to be fairly similar. Okay, so then he goes to Jordan, THT, Ochai, Kelly Olynyk, and Lowry marketing. This is probably one of the worst rebounding lineups ever. I did the same thing. I got a really bad rebounding lineup in here. Olynyk's a bad rebounder. He's super at everything else, but he's not a good rebounder. And Lowry's suboptimal rebounder for a center, but I like Lowry at center. So same thing. He brings Walker back 3 minutes later, and this is where he has Taylor Hendricks, and then Colin Sexton comes into the game. So but Walker's back in. So Walker sits for 3 minutes, comes back. He's playing Walker in 3 stints the way we used to play Gobert. This is interesting. I kind of like that for big guys. Seth did a really nice job on this. If you scan down, Seth gives us some of his rules. His rules are that Walker and Jordan are matched 100% of the time together. THT plays with Kelly, so you're getting basically Olynyk is the ball handler. Sexton plays with Kelly, right? So both Taylor and Sexton have somebody struggle. One, they are ball handling. Keyonte plays with Sexton. And then when Ochai plays the 3, you need Dunn or Taylor in, and he has some other notes in there. And he gives his overall minutes breakdown. It's really well done. So again, first substitutions are Olynyk for Kessler, Taylor Horton Tucker for John Collins, basically. And Markkanen becomes the center. Then Kessler comes back, and Taylor Hendricks comes in. And this is interesting. Seth ran into the same thing I did. Taylor Hendricks is now playing the 3. Walker Kessler, Kelly Olynyk, Taylor Hendricks. This gets hard because Hendricks really can't handle right now unless he adds it this off summer. When he was his college tape, he does not have a great handle. So you have Sexton, Taylor Horton Tucker, Taylor Hendricks, Kelly Olynyk, and Walker Kessler. And you open up the fourth quarter, you bring in Keyonte George for Taylor Horton Tucker, and you play Sexton and George together with Hendricks, Olynyk, and Kessler. Now, I did this lineup with Keyonte George and Colin Sexton with a spread floor. I liked having Sexton and Keyonte George on the floor with Collins or Olynyk as your center because of the fact that it spreads the floor, lets them drive and do things. He does this 3 minutes into the quarter where he brings Lowry Markkanen back in for Taylor Hendricks, John Collins in for Walker Kessler, and then he has the Colin Sexton, Keyonte George, John Collins, Kelly Olynyk, Lowry Markkanen lineup. This assumes John Collins can shoot. And then closes with the same thing as our starting lineup in the second quarter. He does make, I think he said to me that he made a change in the second half somewhere. Taylor Hendricks doesn't play in the Taylor Hendricks plays just 3 minutes in the second half of games. But again, Taylor Hendricks here, this is super interesting to me about how are we fitting Taylor Hendricks into minutes. Both the stints that he has for Hendricks are short, which is fine, or 6 minutes. And both of them have him playing with Walker and Kelly as a 3. So this was kind of my takeaway. on this. He does another version of this after listening to the podcast, which he stays kind of he only makes one substitution here to start, and he takes Taylor Horton-Tucker out of the rotation. Kelly Olynyk comes in for John Collins, keeps it very standard, and then Olynyk, then when Walker goes out, Taylor Hendricks comes in, and Lowry goes out, Colin Sexton comes in. So this then gets you a Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Taylor Hendricks, John Collins, Kelly Olynyk lineup, which is interesting. And then but only interesting again because Taylor Hendricks is your 3, playing kind of Lowry's backup minutes. Luka Samanic would obviously vie for this. Some of us thought Ochai would end up playing those backups, but he ends up with the same thing with me, by the way. He has Ochai playing 35 minutes. Like, I had Ochai on the floor for 48 minutes when I did this the first. Oh, I need Ochai on the floor. It's really, really well across the board. Very well done here by Seth. Let me move to our next one. Let me see if hopefully it's ready. Great color coding by John. I'm going to go to Brian's first, though. Here we go. Let's see if this shares. There we go. Okay, so here's Brian's. And Brian does some interesting thing I love in his breakdown. He looks at it by ball handler, rebounding, and rim protect. So we'll look at that here in just a second as we continue here on Locked On Jazz with that. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. The Hyundai car, just remarkable. I mean, I've bought 3 of them so far, which backs it up, and I'm yearning for the Ioniq 6. So that tells you all you need to know. When you talk about Hyundai cars, you're talking about the best-made car and award-winning car on the market. When I say award-winning? Well, the Ioniq 5 was named the SUV of the year last year, the electric Ioniq 5. We do own it. It's pretty great. The Ioniq 6 was named the car of the year this year. So it's continually nonstop, just absolute winning award after award after award. Pretty awesome. Congratulations to Hyundai for that. And then you add the Murdoch family and who Blake is and what this community means to him and how consistent he is in that. And you've got a great combination. So stop by 4646 South State Street or in Logan or in Linden. But first, actually, why don't you just email me at dlock09 and I'll set you up with a VIP meeting beforehand. Check out the Motor Trend SUV of the Year 2023. That's the Ioniq 5. Check out the Car of the Year, the Ioniq 6, the 2 electrics, or the SUV lineup that is the fabulous lineup from the Tucson to the Santa Fe. We own 2 of them, to the Kona, to the beautiful Palisade. It's all at Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by Ibotta. Why don't you make a little while you're doing the shopping? All the things that you know you have to do, whether it's burgers and hot dogs for the summer barbecue or the grocery items you always are getting, loading up the pantry. Why don't you make a little bit while you're at it? Either link your loyalty accounts or upload your receipt after you shop and you get cash back. It's that easy, and it's from Ibotta. The average Ibotta user earns $120 per year that could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, a brand new pair of Nike Dunks, just a thought, that flight, because you can customize the Nike Dunks if you're on your daughter's account, just a thought, that gives you whatever it might be. Other apps that don't amount to much, but Ibotta gets you real cash back that you can cash to your bank account, PayPal, or gift card. Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying it with the code LOCKEDON when you register. So go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCK. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play Store or App Store. Use the code LOCK. IBOTTA, Google Play or App Store. Use the code LOCK. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting platforms. Greatly appreciate you jumping aboard. All right, let's look at Brian's version. We'll go back to the screen share since I actually figured out how to do this correctly. I'm kind of excited about that. I did practice beforehand, but we're using a new platform for our shows, and so I wasn't entirely sure it was going to work perfectly, and it seems to have. All right, so here's Brian. I love what Brian did. Brian puts ball handlers, rebounders, and rim protectors. And so I would say, who are our ball handlers is an interesting concept. So I would say our ball handlers are Olynyk is probably our best, Clarkson, Sexton, THC. Those would be my 4 ball handlers, and I don't know if he defines them exactly the same way. Our second rebounders, I would say, are Collin and Kessler. Like, that's kind of it. Like, our rebounding we were really good on the offensive glass last year. We'll see if we can keep it up. Defensively, we're going to have to. And then our rim protectors, I actually think are Kessler, Markkanen, and maybe Hendricks. I'm a little bit more optimistic on that. So he starts with Clarkson, Agbaji, Markkanen, Kelly Olynyk, and Walker Kessler. It's interesting. We'll see. Like, all of us kind of have penciled Clarkson in there. Veteran, established, came up, started last year. Don't see why he's coming off the bench again. But Sexton could earn that. When I've shared this with people like Josh Lloyd and I are talking for Lockdown Fantasy Basketball, and I shared what I thought was starting left, he was really surprised. First sub is Sexton, and he comes in for Kessler. We're beginning to see that as kind of our general theme. And again, I asked everyone to hit pause before we got too far so that you guys did your own version. You weren't skewed by me. And this is interesting. So in this one, he's got Sexton and Clarkson on the floor. He's got 2 ball handlers. He's got 3 rebounders in his mind, in KO, Collins, and I don't know who his other 2 rebounders he thinks are, because I do not think Agbaji is a rebounder yet. Clarkson is not a rebounder. Sexton's actually a really good rebounder for a guard. And KO's not a good rebounder. I actually might guess Sexton's rebounding rate might be better. You know what we're going to do starting next week? Basketball Index has these really cool numbers that kind of give you grades for the players and all their skill sets. And sometimes it's surprising to what it might be. And therefore, it's good for us to kind of look in at how our players are evaluated. His next substitution is Taylor Horton-Tucker or Dunn. So I did not have THT or Dunn in the opening rotation. I had Keyonte George getting that. He goes to them. And then Collins has come in the previous, and Kessler comes back at the 3-minute mark. So here we have a second example of Kessler playing 3 stints, playing the first 6, playing the middle 6, and playing kind of the closing 4 or 5, which probably is the best way to use a big man. It's how we used Rudy. It also lets Walker play some second-team guys, which I think is a great idea. There's a lot to that, so really nice work by Brian there. He opens the second quarter with the THT Dunn point guard. Clarkson's back, Agbaji, Markkanen, and Kessler, and then brings Sexton back with Agbaji, Collins. KO comes in now, and Collins comes in, and then Taylor Hendricks gets run, but not until the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. That's late for a guy to make a debut, his first appearance, but maybe that's what happens. And he has the Hendricks playing 5 minutes, and he doesn't have Keyonte in the rotation. He has Taylor Horton-Tucker or Dunn to start. What's interesting about Brian, I think this is really well done, is Keyonte George is playing 14 minutes and Taylor Hendricks is playing 10. And we have a lot of depth, and people are going to be so excited to see these rookies. And I think we're going to get into this whole mix again, as we have in years past. Kind of one, like, how do we, like, well, I want to see the young guys, and Will Hardy wants to win. And, last year was, I want to just tank, and Will Hardy wants to win. This will have actually young players that you actually want to see, and I think that'll make it even more trying. Brian, this is really well done. Brian H is all I know him as on, and it's almost like a fake account, frankly. 6 following and 0 followers makes you think he's actually a false account. But this is well done. So it's an interesting concept. If you put in Keyonte, he's getting the run at the end of the first quarter into the second in here. Sexton's with 28 minutes, Clarkson's at 32, Agbaji at 36, Markkanen 32, probably up. The one thing I didn't get to yesterday's show is sometimes you can have your plan on these guys to be a little higher in regards to minutes played, because you're going to have some blowouts and nights where it doesn't play out that way. And so therefore, you have Markkanen scheduled at 36, but then he averages 33, which is, I think, kind of sometimes the way I look at it. All right, let's look at one more we've got here. I love this one. It's color-coded, and I love my color coding. The dyslexic kid loves color coding. So this is how he finishes. I did it in the wrong order, so I'll have to, we'll do it in the right order for John. Here's his rotation. Isn't that beautiful? Kind of interesting. At the 13-minute mark of the quarter to the 24th, had me so buckled at first. So he starts with Clarkson, Agbaji, Markkanen, Olynyk, and Kessler. This is really like a very good visual on how to do it if you're on YouTube. If you're not. And then his first substitutions are Sexton for Clarkson and Collins for Olynyk. So he's not getting nearly as complicated. And he has Markkanen just play the whole first quarter. There's really some value in this. This is what the best players like to do. It's what Lowry did most of last year. He played the entire first quarter. He comes back at the 6-minute mark. He plays his 36 minutes. Like, it's just really, really, really simple. And I think there's something I actually really like what John did here because it's just simple. Sexton does bounce between the 1 and the 2, and he bounces with THT as the other guard, and that could very easily become Keyonte. This is really well done. I left this for last because, 1, the color coding is beautiful, and 2, because it's just super well done. So the point he has, as we said, Clarkson, Abaji, Markin, and Olynyk and Kessler. His first 2 substitutions are John Collins and Colin Sexton. He uses Colin Sexton in a unique manner. He has him play kind of with the 1 with Abaji for about 4 minutes, and then he slides the 2 as Taylor Horton-Tucker comes in with 2 minutes left in the first and plays for 8 minutes. That could become Keyonte George or Chris Dunn. Then he closes. Then what he does at the 4 is interesting too. So he has one little lineup in the middle of like he gets caught with this gap a little bit too, where there's a weird gap when you do this, and he has a lineup in the middle of the second quarter that's Taylor Horton-Tucker, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Taylor Hendricks, and Walker Kessler. Maybe, it's the middle of the game, you're just playing, who knows? That seems like that also comes because that's a funky lineup, but I don't know how you avoid it, actually. I think this is where I tried to avoid this live, and John's like, you know what, we're just going to suck it up for 2 minutes in the middle of the second quarter. What he does with the power forward is Olynyk starts instead of Collins. Collins comes in, and then Collins slides to the center when Walker leaves. John Collins has had a mixed bag at center in his career. It might be the answer. We'll see how he plays for us as a center. He's a good – if you're going to have Collins in the game as a center, you need to have him as a rolling center because he's a really good rolling big. He's not a very good defensive big. So maybe against second team, that's the right way to do it. Again, we end up with Taylor Hendricks to open up the second quarter at the 3 with Olynyk and Collins. We just keep seeing this every time one of us puts together a rotation. So maybe that is how Taylor Hendricks fits, which is an interesting kind of way to look at it. He then so his centers are Kessler and Collins, which means his power forwards are Olynyk, Collins, and then Olynyk again with Collins at center. But then Taylor Hendricks grabs 4 minutes at a very similar spot to where Brian had. So Hendricks getting about 4 minutes there in the second quarter. Markin comes back and just plays his 2 stints, which I love. Abaji and Markin match each other for the exact same amount of time. Clarkson plays a little bit longer in the second quarter than the first. But this is really, again, very, very well done on kind of how you piece together. And I think John's might be better than anything I put together. Has a little notch. Seth and Brian's were great, but I think this is maybe the best one in the sense it's just simple and straightforward and has a lot of flexibility off of it. He also gets Taylor Hendricks just some more time in different versatile lineups. He gets him some time at power forward by playing him with Markkanen a little bit, with Abaji and Clarkson, with Kessler, and it gets him to play 8 minutes a night, or 8 minutes a half, 16 minutes a night, and gets Keyonte George to play 8 minutes a night and 16 minutes a night. So I think if he's in Taylor Horton-Tucker's position, really tip of the hat to John on this one. I think this is as good a setup as is, and it's really basic and simple. And he just there's just a little gap in the middle. You got to figure it out. Like it just is what it is. And the other question we just have to decide is how we feel about playing 2 rookies at the same time. But in this lineup, he's with Collins and Olynyk and Sexton. He's with 3 of our veterans, so maybe it turns out all right. Really, really, really well done. So thank you to John. Thank you to everybody involved on that. That was just great work by everyone involved. All right. The 6 teams that will surprise, according to Bleacher Report, were the Jazz included. And the peak defensive performances in the last 15 years was Rudy Gobert included. That's from Thinking Basketball. We'll touch on both those in just 1 minute. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sports book of Locked On. FanDuel. And if you got into taking a swing at betting Major League Baseball, if not, FanDuel's got a deal for you. You get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to whatever you think is the first home run. All on the app, safe and secure and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You get $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. They also have all the NBA props for the season up at FanDuel right now. So you can go check those out as well. Over under on wins, various awards, sixth man. Look at these rotations. Decide who the sixth man is going to be. All those. FanDuel is the official sports book of Locked On. FanDuel is the official partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks so much to everybody who made Locked On Jazz their first listen of the day. All right, let's continue. Bleacher Report came out with the 5 teams that could break out. By the way, huge thanks to everyone. I do think the one thing that was really interesting in that experience of doing the rotations was we've got 5 pretty good players on the floor at all times. Now, Keyonte and Taylor, we don't know yet. But, like, on the quest to 240 minutes, we're pretty close, which I think is why we'll be better than everyone thinks we will. We don't have – we did, kind of the rankings this week. We don't have those guys. But we do have kind of 240 quality minutes of basketball. And so I think in that sense, we really could be better than some people anticipate. All right, Bleacher Report did the 5 teams that could break out. The Orlando Magic are the first one. This is like everyone's loving pick is the Orlando Magic, the Orlando Magic because of the way they finished last year. I love Franz Wagner. I don't love Paolo Banchero yet. Let's see what he does in year 2. There are not usually rookies who make a jump year 1 to year 2 who had good year 1. Like, that's a big misnomer. That jump, if it's going to happen, happens year 2 to year 3. I thought he was really, really inefficient. I love Wendell Carter Jr. I'm not as sold on Orlando as everybody else is. Let's just put it that way. Like Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs are your guards with an aged Gary Harris and a young Anthony Black who probably can't shoot. Jed Howard is your backup. Joe Ingles is on that roster. Talking to people, there's not clarity on what he's going to be able to do. Mo Wagner and Goga Batazzi are your backup centers. Like, I'm not totally sold there, by the way. This is the in pick. Everyone's in love with him. I love Franz Wagner, but I'm not sold there. I don't know what their over-under on FanDuel is, but I might go the under. Minnesota is the next one. I would agree here. I think this thing settles itself down a little bit. Gobert, Towns, Anthony Edwards, Mike Conley gives them a point guard instead of D'Angelo Russell, who's fighting all year long. Jaden McDaniels gets a little bit better. Their bench of Troy Brown Jr. is I think important. And frankly, Kyle Anderson's just way better than anyone realizes. The more Kyle Anderson plays, the better you are. I'll buy Minnesota as having a much better year. I think Minnesota and Cleveland are the 2 teams that surprise a little bit. Thunder are the next one that Bleacher Report said. It's kind of the posh pick, too. The only question I have here, Shea had as about as good a year as he could. I don't know that Giddey makes another jump. And sure, they add Chet Holmgren, but he's still a rookie. I'm not sure he helps. I think he's good, and he's going to be very valuable. I'm not sure he helps them win a lot. I think there might be a little stall in the Thunder progression. The only question would be if Jalen Williams, as a second-year player, does the exact opposite of what I said earlier, which is he bounces in his second year after a great first year. I don't generally see that happening. He's really good. And his second half of the season was incredible. You got to be a little careful on second half of the season. Pelicans was their next team to bounce. I kind of like this. I think, frankly, it comes down to Zion. Their bench looks thinner to me than it has in the past. Herb Jones, Larry Nance. Like, maybe Jordan Hawkins clicks in, did not have a good summer league. Again, I don't expect rookies to help you win. They might play, but I don't expect them to help you win. At least I'm consistent on that. Larry Nance Jr., who had the tweet of the day yesterday. Dyson Daniels. That bench is a little thin. Trey Murphy's a really nice player. I think he'll get a little bit better next year. So I'll buy the Pelicans in a lot of ways. The Sixers were the next one. And I thought this was interesting. They said Dallas. And Kyrie and Luka were way better together offensively than people realized. And that team was just broken for some reason. Their transition defense was miserable. You watched it like I watched every single one of those train wrecks. Like, you couldn't help but watch it. I think that Jaden Hardy could take a little step. I like the Grant Williams addition along with Maxi Kleba. I'm not as down on Dallas as everyone else is, so I can see that. Now, I thought the surprise one was Philadelphia was the next one. Thinking Basketball put out the top defensive peaks in the last 15 years. So, like, kind of gave a player a year and their performance. Ben Taylor does great work at Thinking Basketball. Kevin Garnett was 08 was number one. That I probably agree. Draymond in 2 different years was listed as number 2. Okay. Anthony Davis 2023 was listed as number 20 or 23 was listed as number 3. I quibble a little bit. Dwight Howard was listed at 4 and Rudy Gobert was listed at 5 for 2018. I feel like Rudy should have been higher up there. Giannis 2022, which was pretty great. Jaren Jackson last year, 2023. And then Tim Duncan 08 was his last one. KG and Draymond in their 2 kind of peak years, I think, are probably right there. He thinks there's a big gap between the defensive year Dwight Howard had in 4 and Rudy in 5. I think the way some of those Jazz players got exposed in the playoffs when they got spread out showed you how incredible Rudy really was and how much teams had to literally game plan to change where Rudy was. So I would vault Rudy up, but that could just be my hometown bias on that in peak years. I would probably put Rudy right up there with KG and Draymond for some of the great years. And his 4-year stretch is one of the very rarely parallel stretches in NBA. All right, that is Locked On Jazz. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll come back. We'll start looking at some of our players individually. We'll start an interview series as well. We'll see if we can get together with Tony and Sarah, and maybe we'll go talk to some bloggers. There's just some people that are busting their butt doing great work. I want to give them a little love. So really appreciate everyone out there. It's super fun. Our off season just keeps rolling through. You guys are the best. Talk to you soon. It is Locked On Jazz, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.